The Pelicans are looking great this year, but that turned out to be bad news for Ben Simmons, who fell flat on his very first Nets game. That's got And now that the star guard has fouled out, his critics have risen, and let us tell you, it's not a pretty sight. So what's everyone saying about the game, and what other NBA Aussies are they comparing him to? You'll find out in this video. First, let's talk about Simmons' flat debut, 130-108. That's not a great score, but it's what the Nets ended up on after their fateful game with the Pelicans at the Barclays Center. And who's receiving the brunt of it all? Simmons, who was the point guard, scored more fouls than points in the game, a 4-to-6 ratio in fact. A sad, sad day for him. He ended up fouling out early in the fourth quarter, just after he attempted 3 shots in 23 minutes. He even missed both of his free throw attempts, with his only game credits including 5 assists, 3 turnovers, 5 rebounds, and 6 fouls. Did you see why we're calling it a sad day? Looks like the player may need a little more time blending in with the Nets. Coming up, here's what went wrong in the game. First, let's talk about his scoring. So, it's not that Ben didn't send out any strong takes to the rim. In fact, a few of them happened thanks to some dump-off passes from other teammates. But see, that's not the issue. The main problem happened a few times when, even though he did try speeding up in the middle of the floor, he would stop and look for teammates around him. And that's not because he was trying to give his fellow players the chance to take over. Instead, it was because he'd been cut off by the Sixer in his way, and Simmons wasn't comfortable changing hands, stepping into a jumper, or turning on the Jets in another direction. Then there was this time Georges Niang was in his way. Instead of taking over, because honestly, Simmons could easily have an athletic advantage over him, he shied away. Now that's not how you win a game, man. When it comes to passing, it felt as if he was more comfortable with those, with a few good ones in the game. But as you can see, there were times that he left the ball to go to Irving or Durant. Not the worst move, but it's almost criminal to think that he didn't even try using his athleticism to win against the opposing team. This is why we find the performance really underwhelming. And okay, we won't keep dissing him. He did play great defenses, deflecting opposing dribbles and timing reaches to perfection. But if only he'd given the game a little more thought, he'd have totally different performance than what he did. Next, here's what Ben had to say about his game. Let us tell you, the guy knows he made mistakes. In a post-game comment, he said that he knows he has to tone it down. I feel like I'm being a little too physical. Over the top, he said. The player also mentioned maybe he was just too excited considering it was his first game, which isn't a crime. The guy deserves to be pumped, but to lose this way because of his excitement isn't the best path to walk on, especially considering the expectations Nash had of him. Prior to the game, he'd envisioned Simmons to be the engine of his team on both sides of the ball, but he wasn't happy with what happened. Moving on, so what does Steve Nash have to say about the loss? He wasn't stoked, obviously. Talking about the game, Steve said that the game was a great warning shot of what the standard is in the NBA. He commented on how the Pelicans beat them in every category and that they had to raise the competition level with their performance. Simmons agreed, saying that he understands and accepts his responsibility to the team and that even though it won't happen overnight, he started working on building his strengths so this doesn't happen again. Even Durant had some comments about the game, saying that it's their job not to let people get in their paint on defense, and that you've got to keep the ball out of the paint, and if the opponent's team's shooting over them, they have no choice but to get back on defense instead of crashing. Now, here's how the fans have been reacting on Twitter. First up is this sad meme with fans commenting how Nets fans are disappointed in Simmons fouling out with just 4 points. Then there's Austin Krell saying how the Nets half-court looked pretty bad with Ben Simmons and Nick Claxton in the starting lineup. To be honest, he didn't seem surprised, which is bad news for the Nets. Kai Carlin also commented on the performance, saying how we shouldn't be surprised with the game and get used to the fact that Simmons cannot be aggressive with his offense and that this is who he is. Looks like the fans are not happy. Even Stephen Smith talked about how disappointed he was with the ugly loss. He called Simmons awful and said that there are no factors to this whatsoever. He also said that the fact that he attempted a single shot in the first 3 quarters was bad and that this wasn't how a playmaker makes a game. That's not a happy comment, and we think it just adds more pressure to Ben to improve his game. And even if he does take time to land on his feet, his game against Toronto Raptors may just be a deciding factor on whether we should be relying on the Nets' performance this year or not. Now, let's talk about some other Aussies that have been acing this season. Now look, just because the Nets have disappointed us doesn't mean there aren't any other Aussies gearing up for greatness this season. So let's talk about some of them because, guys, we do need some winning spirit around here. First up, we have Dyson Daniels. Shaping up to be one of the most successful rookies this year, Dyson Daniels is playing a key role off the bench, just as in his freshman campaign. We bet he can go far if he adds a positive to the offensive side of the ball. Next, we have Jock Landale. We think the guy's landed the perfect spot with the Phoenix, but with his preseason performance, he's got championship aspirations and can be an effective player when it comes to pick-and-roll situations. And we've seen a lot of improvements on his defense side too, so we're all set to see him achieve great things this season. After that, we have Josh Giddey. Big season for the guy who's just coming out of a great rookie campaign. He's got a lot of pressure thanks to Holmgren being sidelined and Shai recovering from his knee injury. So will he be able to lead his squad forward? We think so. Remember his games without SGA last season? Those numbers were dazzling, and we think he's got a lot of good things coming his way. Let's also talk about Jack White. His two-way deal with the Nuggets is the big break that could take White to the next level. We saw an impressive summer league performance from him, and he could be here to stay by making his mark in the NBA. Coming up, Matthew Dellavedova. The Kings may just end their 16-year playoff drought with their roster this season. With Dellavedova and Barnes bringing their championship experience and talents like De'Aaron Fox and Davion Mitchell, they might have a great season ahead of them. The sixth Aussie on our list is Joe Ingles. Now look, we know what you'll say. The guy may not take the floor until the second half of the season thanks to his ACL injury. But see, that's all right, because with his experience, he could take off flying for the Bucks. They may just become one of East's best performing teams this season. As you can see, our hopes are high with this guy. Reaching the end, we have Mavericks' Josh Green. With his third season in Dallas, Josh may just lock up some regular rotation minutes, especially after Brunson and Sterling's departure. Last season, his three-point attempts may have been low volume, but he's definitely improved as a catch-and-shoot player, and if his defensive work is on point, Jason Kidd may just have a treasure trove in his hands this time. Finally, let's talk about Patty Mills. This Aussie is up for some big change this year, thanks to the fact that for the first time since 2011, he's playing for a team other than the Spurs. He's offering exactly what the Nets need, especially after their recent game, and if he plays up to the expectations, he may just be a great addition to the team, because we all know the Nets need a boost, and paired with Irving and Durant, Mills may just give us a game that'll wash out the bad memories Simmons' performance left behind. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think about Ben Simmons' performance? And what other Aussies are you looking to follow this season? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.